You're listening to the Kirkintilloch Herald, a Q&Review recording service podcast, brought to you by our team of volunteers currently recording from their homes across Scotland. Whether you're listening via the BWBF online players, the telephone app, or our brand new Alexa skill, please phone us on 0141 772 3976 to feedback on what you want us to provide and improve upon. Please also join your family and friends in being our audio ambassadors and share our Facebook, Twitter and Instagram all at Q&Review. That's at symbol CUEANDREVIEW.
Date Wednesday, the 11th of May 2022. The Herald, serving Kirkintilloch and Bishopbriggs. Robert helped free Ireland. Robert led liberation of Guernsey at the end of World War II. Report by Brian Newell. Sergeant Major Robert Shaw from Springburn was the first British soldier to land on Guernsey soil following the German occupation of the island at the end of World War II. Mr. Shaw was part of the Task Force 135, the British military contingent that liberated the island as part of the Operation Nest Egg exercise. To honour his memory, his 3 children and 4 grandchildren travelled from Scotland to Jersey and Guernsey, attended the postponed VE Day celebrations on Monday. The family are set to visit it and attend the 75th anniversary celebrations in 2020. However, this was cancelled due to COVID. Mr. Shaw of the REME unit was on the first ship that came into Longcross Bay to liberate the island in 1945 and was the first to disembark, riding off in the landing craft on a motorcycle followed by a number of armoured vehicles. He met no opposition whatsoever except for the mobbing of the soldiers by the hilariously enthusiastic population, and the first person he met was a local boy called John Rold, who was cycling on the right hand side of the road. Mr. Shaw stopped the little boy and told him to cycle on the British side of the road, which was the left hand side, as he was worried the little boy would be knocked over by the other vehicles behind him. 47 years later, in 1992, Mr. Shaw visited Guernsey again to receive commemorative liberation medallions with a number of other war veterans. Mr. Rolt read about the event in the local newspaper, and remembering Mr. Shaw, contacted him at the hotel he was staying in. The two met up, reconnected, and stayed in touch until Mr. Shaw's passing in 2005, aged 89. While Mr. Shaw's REME were in Guernsey, they used a local garage called Ash's Garage for the repair of vehicles. He himself was a trained motor mechanic, and the British officers were anxious to get use of the German cars while stationed on the island. Mr. Shaw was interested to see how vehicles had been converted to charcoal burning units to overcome the shortage of petrol. During his post-war stay, Mr. Shaw worked with German troops who were needed to help in the garage. He also visited the islands of Jersey and Sark, and he also met the Dame of Sark at the time. Mr. Shaw went on to marry an English wartime nurse called Esme Collinson and started a family in Kirkintilloch before retiring to Millport. His son Martin said, "My father was so proud of being part of such a historic moment in liberating the island of Guernsey after the war. He talked about this moment throughout his whole life, and he was thrilled to be invited back in 1992 to receive an official commemorative medallion with 170 surviving veterans of Task Force 135. The fact he managed to reconnect with the very little boy he stopped all those years ago was just magical for him. Visiting Guernsey as a family, in his memory this year, was such a special moment for us to be together and remember all those that fought with him in the war. The Shaw family were attempting to reconnect with Mr. Rock's family during their time in Guernsey to continue the family relationship." This week in history. May the 10th, 1994, Nelson Mandela was inaugurated as the first black president of South Africa. On this day last year, efforts were underway to help a small whale after it became stranded along the River Thames in London. May the 11th, 1981, reggae singer Bob Marley died of cancer. On this day last year, The Queen carried out her first major public ceremonial duty since the death of the Duke of Edinburgh, attending a COVID-secure state opening of Parliament. May the 12th, 1937, the coronation of King George VI took place in Westminster Abbey and was broadcast worldwide by the BBC. On this day last year, the Duke of Cambridge laid a wreath in memory of police officers killed in the line of duty during a visit to Croydon Custody Centre. May the 13th, 1943, German and Indian forces in Africa surrendered. On this day last year, the first giant tunnelling machine was launched as part of the HS2 project. May 14th, 1987, American actress Rita Hayworth died. May 15th, 1988, Soviet troops began leaving Afghanistan after 8 years of occupation. On this day last year, it was cattle chaos after a group of wandering bullocks were spotted grazing in gardens after escaping from a field in East Yorkshire. Bringing Sunshine. Report by Brian Newell. Bishopbriggs Children's charity Sunshine Wishes has received a much needed £5,000 cash boost following Tesco's national campaign earlier this year to banish January's infamous Blue Monday. The retailer supported 60 local charities and community projects across the UK with a total of £300,000. Working with Heart and Smooth radio stations, the focus was on charities and groups who provide food and support to young people, including school breakfast clubs, local food banks, or charities supporting young people to manage mental health. Sunshine Wishes' aim is to fulfil dreams for sick and terminally ill children, children with learning disabilities, and kids who are underprivileged. The group aids families by delivering food and essential supplies for those most in need. With the funding from Tesco, the charity were able to provide 100 care packages, which will go on to support 150 adults and 350 children. The packages include healthy, nutritious food, such as pasta, dried food, nappies, baby milk, fresh vegetables and hygiene products, along with fuel top-ups to support families who need these provisions. Linda Ford, chair of Sunshine Wishes, said, "This virtual donation will help us to continue to support many families who are struggling to survive, particularly in those very trying times when household bills are on the increase. The situation for many families is worsening on a weekly basis, and it's hugely important that we can continue to provide our service to help even more families and children as possible." This campaign ran in addition to Tesco Community Grants, the in-score scheme where customers vote with their blue tokens for community projects and groups, which has been helping local people since 2016. Claire De Silva, head of community at Tesco, said, "We wanted to reward fantastic groups who make such a difference to young people and families in their local communities. We're really proud of this campaign and pleased to be able to support the tireless work of the charities such as Sunshine Wishes." To find out more about Tesco Community Grants, visit www.tescocommunitygrants.org.uk. And that was a report by Brian Newell.
Seeking nominees. A total of £557,995 of National Lottery funding went to 34 projects in Eastern Bartonshire in 2020-21, according to new figures released to mark the launch of this year's National Lottery Awards. The National Lottery Awards seek to celebrate outstanding individuals in the following categories: community charity, art, culture and film, sport, heritage, environment, young hero, under 25s and environment. The winners will receive a £5,000 cash prize along with a National Lottery Awards trophy. In addition, any projects which have benefited from National Lottery funding are also eligible to enter the Project of the Year category. To make your nomination, tweet at LottoGood-Causes or complete an entry form at lotterygoodcauses.org.uk/awards. The close date is June the 1st. Strikes off at First Glasgow. Strike action at First Glasgow has been called off after dozens of workers voted to accept an improved pay offer. The 60 First Glasgow workers, including bus cleaners and shunters, voted by 89% to accept the offer in a ballot turnout of 92%. 2 periods of 48-hour strike action, which were due to take place on May the 4th and 5th, and also 18th and 19th, were immediately cancelled. The deal ensures a significant pay increase along with improvements to sickness pay, which will increase by up to 50%. This will bring sickness pay into line with industry standards at 80% of full pay for the workers. United previously criticised First Glasgow for offering an insulting pay offer, which would have brought some workers up to £9.48 per hour, backdated August of 2021 to April 2022, 2 pence below the current adult national minimum wage. Unite General Secretary Sharon Graham said, "These workers took a stand against poverty wages and they won. Their pay and sickness entitlements have now significantly improved." Once again, it highlights the benefits of being a member of Unite in the fight for better jobs, terms and conditions. Wendy Dunsmore, Unite Industrial Officer, added, "The deal was overwhelmingly accepted by our members, meaning that the strikes are now off. The cleaners and shunters will now receive pay and benefits in line with their fellow workers at First Glasgow. It's a deal we are pleased to get over the line." National Exhibit. Treasures of the National Library of Scotland is a new permanent exhibition at George IV Bridge, Edinburgh. If you get the chance to pop along to have a look, it's well worth the time. It's an amazing collection of material that casts a light on times gone by. It provides a unique insight into Scotland's history, culture and people and its place in the world. The library collects and preserves the memory of the Scottish nation on behalf of its people. This exhibition reflects ideas and innovation, creativity and social change from across the centuries. It features early printed books, video installations, maps, medieval manuscripts, passports and letters. Artists, writers, musicians and filmmakers were also invited to create new work inspired by the library's treasures.
Give extra day off for the Jubilee. Report by Neil McGrory. Trade Union Unison has asked Eastern Bartonshire Council's leaders to intervene to prevent a dispute over the Queen's Jubilee in June. The council plans to close most of its services on June the 2nd and 3rd and had initially instructed employees to take personal leave on both days. The council's chief executive, Jerry Corns, has now designated June the 3rd a public holiday, which means anyone working that day will receive improved rates and all staff, regardless of whether they're due to work or not, will get extra time off. However, those wishing to be off on June the 2nd will still need to use leave, and Unison argues this is a breach of contract and discriminates against women and people with disabilities, who are less likely to work Monday to Friday. Local Branch Secretary Tommy Robertson said, "Our members are furious about the way this has been handled. The council have turned what should be a good news story into a chance to mark the Queen's Jubilee into an almighty stushy. There has been no meaningful consultation, let alone negotiation with Unison. That is why we now have the council using ridiculous language and telling our members that they are instructed to take their own leave, which should be their own choice. It is up to councillors to get this sorted immediately after the election. We saw neighbouring authority Western Bartonshire get into a mess and councillors there sorted it. We need them to do the same here. We have written to leaders asking them to commit to act." A technical note to be alert to members states, "The designation of June the 3rd as a public holiday is in direct recognition of the commitment of the workforce in responding to COVID and will not create a precedent for any future one-off public holidays going forward." Mr Corden said, "The council agreed at a meeting in November 2021, in line with a number of other local authorities at the time, to mark the Queen's Platinum Jubilee by awarding an additional day of no work requirement on 3rd of June for all employees. This was subject to the continued delivery of essential frontline services on that day, with those required to work being entitled to time off in lieu and at an appropriate later date. However, in light of the working commitment of all employees in responding to the challenges of COVID over the last 2 years, and following further engagement with the trade unions, I have liaised with political group leaders and now intend to exercise my delegated authority to designate Friday, June the 3rd as a public holiday for the council. This means that anyone required to work on that day will receive enhanced rates in accordance with normal contractual conditions. In addition, those who work flexibly, whether in relation to the number of hours worked or the work pattern, will also be credited with the appropriate leave. Employees will be required to take a day's annual leave on Thursday, June the 2nd, as previously advised. And that report was by Neil McGrory. Residents laugh it up. Report by Brian Newell. The fun-loving folk living at Campsie View Care Home in Kirkintilloch enjoyed a good chuckle earlier this month by holding their own comedy club to celebrate World Laughter Day. Residents and team members took to the stage and shared their funniest jokes, stories and impressions to kick off the event Laughter and Sunshine. The initiative is running in more than 150 Four Seasons care homes across the UK during May. Some of the activities residents can take part in include laughter yoga sessions, listening to local children's favourite jokes, and enjoying performances by visiting comedians and singers. The Home's Magic Moments coordinators are also putting together happiness handbooks full of residents' own tips and ideas to bring laughter and sunshine into older life. Top tips that have been submitted so far include: think about the most embarrassing thing that happened to you when you were young. I'm sure you'll laugh about it now. Try singing Bring Me Sunshine and doing the Morecambe and Wise Silly Walk. It never fails to make me feel cheery. The Canal Street Homes manager, Nicola Brown, said, after the challenges of the last 2 years, we decided it was time to celebrate the joy of laughter and the benefits it brings. Research says that children laugh on average of 300 times a day, but adults only 17, so we've got a lot of catching up to do. Sharing fun moments is a great way to connect with each other, and laughter increases the release of much feel-good endorphins, aids muscle relaxation, and stimulates circulation, which are all good for health and well-being. Resident Michael Allison, 78, added, that was great fun. I didn't know we had so many jokers living here. I was laughing all afternoon. Resident Janet Tate, also 78, said, they say laughter is the best medicine, and I couldn't agree more. Even though some of the jokes were terrible, as soon as other people started to laugh, it set me off too. It was a lovely way to forget old age aches and pains. Everyone should try and laugh more. And that report was by Brian Newell.
National exhibit. Treasures of the National Library of Scotland is a new permanent exhibition at George IV Bridge, Edinburgh. If you get the chance to pop along to have a look, it's well worth the time. It's an amazing collection of material that casts a light on times gone by. It provides a unique insight into Scotland's history, culture and people and its place in the world. The library collects and preserves the memory of the Scottish nation on behalf of its people. This exhibition reflects ideas and innovation, creativity and social change from across the centuries. It features early printed books, video installations, maps, medieval manuscripts, passports and letters. Artists, writers, musicians and filmmakers were also invited to create new work inspired by the library's treasures.
Reducing footprint. Report by Brian Newell. Eastern Berkshire Council has renewed a 2-year contract to send its food waste to Scotland's first large-scale recycling facility to be used to generate renewable energy. The waste will continue to be sent to Scottish Water Horizon's Deerdykes Bioresources Centre near Cumbernauld, where it undergoes anaerobic digestion, a process which uses bacteria to break down the organic matter. Colin Lindsay, Operations Manager at Scottish Water Horizons, said, a less sustainable alternative is to use commingled waste, mixing food and garden rubbish, which goes into composting. This generates greenhouse gases, including methane, which are harmful to the environment. Sending waste to a food waste recycling facility, which uses anaerobic digestion, avoids this issue while generating sustainable energy. Last year, Eastern Berkshire sent 3,000 tonnes of food waste to us for processing. That's the equivalent of more than 250,000 weekly food shops, reducing a massive 1,850 tonnes of carbon. This has been a great effort in Eastern Berkshire to encouraging the public to separate their food waste, and we are confident through working together that we can build on that success. Anne Davey, the Council's Deputy Chief Executive, added, "We're very proud of the fact that our residents have consistently been amongst the top recyclers in the country. By renewing this contract, we are demonstrating the Council's commitment to ensuring as much food waste as possible in Eastern Bartonshire is turned into renewable energy and not sent to landfill. We are currently running a campaign to raise awareness locally of what items go into each of our bins to increase our area's recycling even further. So far, the response from our residents has been terrific, which just shows how passionate they are about this issue. The Deerdykes Bioresources Centre has generated more than 50 gigawatts of green electricity, the equivalent of powering 13,500 homes for a year, since it opened in 2010. The facility harnesses gas from food waste, using an aerobic digestion to generate green energy, using a combined heat and power engine." And that report was by Brian Newell. An online treasure trove, Survivals from Medieval Times, report by Julie Curry. An extremely rare collection of medieval and early modern manuscripts is now available to view online for the first time. The National Library of Scotland digitised a collection of more than 240 precious manuscripts, which are available to view on nls.uk. It includes stunning illuminations, medieval doodles, zodiac medical material, and advice to the 12th century Knights Templar on the superfluity of beards and moustaches. The work was made possible by a generous donation from Alexander Graham. With the Scottish manuscripts in particular among the rarest, the collection contains items ranging from the 9th to the 16th century, but a few later transcriptions of important texts are also included. The resource includes manuscripts on a range of subjects such as medical manuscripts, the rule of Knights Templar, and rare survivors of the Reformation. Manuscripts curator Dr. Ulrich Hogg said, "This fascinating digitised collection is international in origin, though a large part of the volumes were written in Scotland. The survival rate of medieval Scottish manuscript volumes is generally low. For example, only 1% of religious manuscripts of Roman Catholic use, many of which were systematically destroyed during and after the Scottish Reformation, are believed to still be in existence. It is difficult to estimate how many cultural treasures were lost during these times. The collection presented here includes a number of those fortunate survivors that have endured subsequent centuries. We're delighted to make these extremely rare pieces of history publicly accessible online. The collection includes a 15th century folded medical/zodiac almanac, which probably belonged to a doctor based in Northern England, a 12th century manuscript of the rule of the Knights Templar Order, a 15th century psalter written and illuminated at Culross Abbey, Fife, a tiny 15th century Book of Hours from Italy with lavish gold illumination, and an early 16th century manuscript written and illuminated in Dunkeld. Dr. Ulrich Hogg added, "The digital images provide a new opportunity to gain some insight into the medieval Scottish book production. The interest, taste and knowledge of medieval scribes can be seen in these images, as well as the development of the medieval Scottish bookhand and styles of illumination. The collection reveals much information on later owners of the manuscripts, who annotated them or added irreverent doodles as the volumes passed through their hands. The collection also includes volumes produced in England, France, Italy and the north of Europe, as well as Greece and Iceland. Many are finely decorated or of major textual significance. The collection can be viewed now at www.nls.uk. And that report was by Julie Curry.
National Exhibit. Treasures of the National Library of Scotland is a new permanent exhibition at George IV Bridge, Edinburgh. If you get the chance to pop along to have a look, it's well worth the time. It's an amazing collection of material that casts a light on times gone by. that provides a unique insight into Scotland's history, culture and people and its place in the world. The library collects and preserves the memory of the Scottish nation on behalf of its people. This exhibition reflects ideas and innovation, creativity and social change from across the centuries. It features early printed books, video installations, maps, medieval manuscripts, passports and letters. Artists, writers, musicians and filmmakers were also invited to create new work inspired by the library's treasures.
The votes are counted and the results are in. Report by Brian Newell. The people of Eastern Bartonshire went to the polls on Thursday to cast their vote in the Scottish local elections. Following the count at the Leisure Dome in Bishopbriggs on Friday, the following were elected: Ward 1, Milngavie, Jim Gibbons, SNP, Alex Matheson, Conservative, Aileen Paulson, Lib Dem. Ward 2, Bearsden North, Duncan Cumming, Independent, Alan Reid, Lib Dem Focus Team, Callum Smith, SNP. Ward 3, Bearsden South, Ian Gallagher, SNP, Vaughan Moody, Lib Dems, Andrew Paulson, Conservative. Ward 4, Bishopbriggs North and Campsie, Paul Ferretti, SNP, Billy Hendry, Conservative, Colette McDermott, Labour and Co-op, Linda Williamson, SNP. Ward 5, Bishopbriggs South, Gordon Lowe, SNP, Alan Moir, Labour and Co-op, Ben Rose, Lib Dems. Ward 6, Lenzie and Kirkintilloch South, Callum McNally, Labour and Co-op, Willie Patterson, Lib Dems, Gillian Renwick, SNP. Ward 7, Kirkintilloch East and North and Twaker, Stuart MacDonald, Labour, Pamela Marshall, SNP, Susan Murray, Lib Dems. Returning Officer Jerry Corden said, "There were no significant problems or issues at either of our polling stations or the count, and everyone who worked incredibly hard to ensure everything was done safely and smoothly. I thank everyone who worked at the count, polling station officers, candidates, my election team, and also helped in any way to make this election process a success." In North Lanarkshire, the following were elected: Ward 5, Steps, Christen and Muirhead, Josh Cairns, SNP, John McLaren, Labour, Claire Louise Williams, Greens. Ward 6, Gartcosh, Glenboig and Middlesbrough, Joanne Katie Kelty, SNP, Greg Lennon, SNP, Michael McPake, Labour. In Glasgow, the following were elected: Ward 17, Springburn/Royston, Graham Campbell, SNP, Christina Cannon, SNP, Audrey Dempsey, Labour, and Thomas Buchanan, Labour. In Stirling, the following were elected: Ward 2, Forth and Hendrick, Rosemary Fraser, SNP, Paul Hinkie, Conservative, Jerry McGarvey, Labour. And that report was by Brian Newell. Visitors welcome back to NHS GGC's hospitals. Report by Brian Newell. Inpatients across NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde hospitals can now benefit from the support of at least one visitor at a time in most circumstances, following the easing of visiting restrictions. Family members or friends can visit 2 at a time. However, in some hospitals, due to the ward environment, people are asked to visit individually at the current time. New visiting arrangements are as follows: up to 2 visitors at a time. The visitors can change: Queen Elizabeth University Hospital, Gartnavel General Hospital, New Victoria Hospital, Beats and West of Scotland Cancer Care, Royal Hospital for Children, Burns and Plastic Wards in the Glasgow Royal Infirmary, all mental health wards, all maternity wards. 1 visitor at a time. The visitor can change: Glasgow Royal Infirmary, Stobhill Ambulatory Care Hospital, Royal Alexander Hospital, Lightburn Hospital, Vale of Leven Hospital, and Inverclyde Royal Hospital. In wards where a COVID-19 outbreak is being managed, essential visiting may be reintroduced on a temporary basis to help protect staff, patients and visitors until the situation can be resolved. Patients with particularly high risk of infection will continue to have visiting arrangements discussed as part of the individual risk assessments. Jennifer Rogers, Deputy Nurse Director at NHS GGC, said, "We know how important it is for people in hospital to have support from the people who matter most to them. The move to restrict visiting was only ever temporary, and in light of the reducing impact of COVID-19, we've worked as quickly as possible to welcome increased support and presence from family members in our hospitals. We are delighted to welcome visitors back to all our hospital wards, but ask them to remain cautious and follow all safety measures and guidance. Before you visit, undertake a lateral flow test to help ensure you do not have COVID-19. You can order these on the Scottish Government's website or by calling 119. Unless exempt, you are strongly recommended to wear a face mask throughout your visit. For more information, visit www.nhs.gc.scot/your-health/covid-hospital-and-visiting/ And that report was by Brian Newell. May Days. Celebrate our love of walking. Report by Julie Curry. National walking charity Paths for All is encouraging Scots to get involved in a month-long campaign to celebrate the country's love for walking. Launched for National Walking Month, Paths for All is working with 7 diverse influencers on a social media campaign in the hope of inspiring everyday walking, with members of the public being encouraged to share images and videos of their favourite places to walk. The content shared will be entered into a competition hosted by the charity running for the duration of May. Entries can be submitted via any social media platform by sharing a few words with a photo or visitor, tagging Paths for All, and hashtagging I Love Walking and hashtag National Walking Month, with the winner securing a £500 voucher for Cotswold Outdoor. Kevin Lafferty, Chief Executive Officer at Paths for All, hopes the campaign will create a broader understanding about why people in Scotland love walking and what they get from it. He said, "The power of a daily walk has become even stronger over recent years, so we hope members of the public will join in this fun celebration to share the joy of walking while uncovering places unique to them. Walking is a free therapy and offers everyone the chance to enjoy time on their own or together while embracing nature. It can bring comfort, familiarity and happy memories, and remains one of the healthiest and easy to access activities which can enable people to lead happier lives." Influencers involved in the campaign include Simply Emma Blog, A Journey in My Wheels, Fiona Outdoors, Wonder Maw, Ross Cunningham Hiking, Exploring Edinburgh, and Hill Walking Hijabi. The charity works to create more opportunities and better environments, not just for walking, but for cycling and other activities to help make Scotland a more active, more prosperous and greener country. Paths for All's focus is clear. It wants to get Scotland walking, everyone, every day, everywhere. And that report was by Julie Curry.
A welcome for Police Scotland recruits. Chief Constable Ian Livingston welcomed 297 new probationary constables during an oath of office ceremony at Police Scotland headquarters at Tullyallen. The recruits declared to faithfully discharge their duties with fairness, integrity, diligence and impartiality. Thanking them for their commitment to public service, the Chief Constable said, "Our officers come from the diverse communities we serve. What unites us are our values and a shared mission to keep people safe. I welcome our new constables and thank them for stepping forward to make what is a significant commitment to public service and to underline the values and behaviours they must uphold and promote. Policing is a demanding but rewarding vocation. The oath of office ceremony is an important opportunity to emphasise that constables who discharge their duties in accordance with their values and their oath have both my support and the Police Service of Scotland. The intake, with a 56% to 44% split between males and females, ranged in age from 19 to 52, with the majority falling in the 25 to 34 year age bracket. 6 of the recruits were serving special constables, 2 were members of police staff and 17 of previous military service. They will undertake 12 weeks training before working their 2-year probationary period. It will be a welcome boost to the ranks as the number of police officers in Scotland stood at 17,117 in December 2021, down 115 from September last year. And Scottish Police Authority documents reveal 122 officers were due to hit retirement. 340,000 calls to our census helpline. More than 340,000 calls have been dealt with by the free helpline for Scotland's census, along with a further 60,000 emails and web chat inquiries. This has included interpretation support in 26 languages, including Polish, Arabic and Mandarin, through the Census Interpretation Service, according to new figures published by the National Records of Scotland. NRS is encouraging everyone who has not yet completed their census to access support available to them by calling the free helpline on 0800 030 8308 or by visiting the website census.gov.scot. Paul Lowe, NRS Chief Executive, said, "I know that some have not yet completed their return because they need help or are unsure of what to do. We have a range of support in place to help with any query, no matter how big or small. We have been delighted to provide support and advice to many thousands already."
Loneliness is a big health issue. Report by Julie Curry. The theme of this week's Mental Health Awareness Week, running from May the 9th to the 15th, is loneliness and the impact it has on our mental well-being. Launched 21 years ago by the Mental Health Foundation, which organises and hosts the week, it's an opportunity for people to focus on achieving good mental health. Loneliness has made a huge impact on our physical and mental health during the pandemic. Our connection to others is fundamental to protecting our health, so we need to find ways of tackling the epidemic of loneliness. The Foundation Chief Executive, Mark Rowland, is this week calling on Scots to share their stories, break the stigma and be part of the movement. Mark said, "This Mental Health Awareness Week, we want to give loneliness the attention it deserves, bringing it out from shadows where it's so often it's hidden. Loneliness is something that we all feel at times, but when it is chronic or long term, it can have serious effects on our mental health. We all have a part to play in reducing loneliness. It is a significant public health issue, remaining one of the key indicators of poor mental health. Long-term feelings of loneliness have also been shown to be associated with higher rates of mortality and poorer physical health outcomes." Wednesday Halliday, director of CME, Scotland's programme to end mental health stigma, said loneliness has become more prevalent for Scots in the last 2 years. She said, "Mental health stigma and fear of discrimination stop many of us from speaking up and asking for help when we're struggling. Our research has found that more than a quarter of Scots don't feel comfortable speaking about their mental health. If you are struggling with your mental health, reach out to someone you trust, to a friend, a family member, your GP or a helpline like Breathing Space or Samaritans. Stigma, or the fear of saying the wrong thing, can also lead to people putting off having a conversation with someone who's struggling, leaving them feeling alone and isolated. If you're worried about someone, use this week to start a conversation. To find out more, visit www.cmescotland.org or www.mentalhealth.org.uk, and that report was by Julie Curry.
Take a Break Scotland is back. Take a Break Scotland, TABS, a short break fund for the carers of disabled children and their families, has reopened for applications with extra funding for 2022-2023. Funded by the Scottish Government, it aims to provide carers with the choice and opportunity to access a single or ongoing break from the day-to-day routines. TABS grants enable carers of disabled or seriously ill children or young people to have the opportunity to choose how they would like to take a break, with a view to improving the quality of life, health and well-being of the whole family. It is a discretionary fund that aims to support carers, including kinship carers and their families, improve their physical and emotional well-being, and give opportunities to take part in fun and leisure activities or enjoy a break from caring. All carers need time to help relax and unwind away from the everyday routine of caring. Last year, the Scottish Government provided £700,000 for TABS. An increase to £1.5 million this year will provide grants for 4,500 families. Cheryl Ward, Chief Executive of charity Family Fund, which runs the grant scheme, said, "The feedback we receive from parents and carers tells us how important the opportunity to receive a grant that is individual to the needs of a family really is, what a tremendous difference it makes." Grant applications are now open until June the 20th. You can make an online application at take-a-breakscotland.org.uk or call the helpline on 01904 571 093, which is open Monday to Friday 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Leave your name and full contact details.
Your time. Does 2022's only Friday the 13th fill you with horror? Uncovering reasons, steeped in history, why dates scare superstitious among us. Many people are superstitious, and one of the dates they would most rather avoid is this week's Friday the 13th. If so, you're not alone. But why is this date considered unlucky? Laura Steele of Education Resource Experts Plan B digs deep for some clues. Many people are wary of Friday the 13th, while others outright dread it, even going so far as to change their normal routines and any plans they may have. The 13th falls on a Friday at least once a year, and can occur up to 3 times a year. Any month that begins on a Sunday will have a Friday that falls on the 13th. Thankfully, for those who are superstitious, there is only one Friday the 13th this year. Look Norse. One possibility for its origins lies in Norse myth. 12 gods had a feast. Loki, the trickster, who was not invited, but turned up as his 13th guest. He tricked blind god Hodor into shooting an arrow that killed god Baldur. This event caused the date to be considered unlucky. Rooted in religion, others believe it has biblical origins. There were 13 guests at the Last Supper before the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, which took place on a Friday. A further idea traces its roots back to France in 1307, when King Philip VI ordered the arrest, torture and execution of hundreds of Knights Templar, a powerful religious and military order whose mission it was to defend the Holy Land. A good day to travel? While the origins of this belief are unclear, many people do have a real fear for Friday the 13th. This condition even has a name: Frigatristicaphobia. Frigg is the Norse god of wisdom, after whom Friday is named. Triskaideka is Greek for 13, and phobia translates as fear in Greek. It is thought that this fear can have an adverse effect on some businesses, especially airlines, as people are reluctant to fly in this date. However, many studies have shown that there are no significant increase in the number of accidents, hospital visits, or natural disasters on past Friday the 13th. Even more people fear the number 13 specifically. This fear is called triskaidekaphobia. This is so widespread, many high-rise buildings do not have a 13th floor. They go from 12 to 14, skipping the feared number altogether. Lots of airports do not have gates numbered 13, while some airlines do not have a row number 13 on their planes. Unlucky Tuesday? However, Friday the 13th is not considered unlucky by everyone. For example, in Spanish-speaking countries and Greece, Tuesday the 13th is actually the unlucky date. This is because in Greek mythology, Ares, the god of war, is associated with Tuesday. In Italy, Friday the 17th is unlucky. In Roman numerals, 17 is XVII. These letters can be rearranged to make the word VIXI, which means I have lived, implying death is imminent. Debunking superstition. Captain William Fowler founded the 13 Club in New York in 1882 in order to debunk the theory that Friday the 13th, and the number 13 itself, was unlucky. There were only 13 members at any one time. They dined together at 8:13 p.m. on the 13th day of each month in room 13 of Knickerbocker Cottage, a popular tavern. Before sitting down to a 13-course meal, they each walked under a ladder. Whether or not you believe that Friday the 13th is unlucky, superstitions themselves are fascinating to many people. You may agree with the poet and playwright Oscar Wilde, who said, "I love superstitions. They are the opponent of common sense."
Obituaries. Gallagher, Margaret. Peacefully on April 26th, 2022, surrounded by her family, beloved wife of John, a much-loved mum of Michael, John, Gwen, Stephen, Gerard, Mark and Matthew. A loving mother-in-law and adored grandmother of 19 and great-grandmother of Charlie, Rhea, David and Alfie. Funeral service will take place on Wednesday, May 11th, 2022, at St. Flallands Catholic Church for 10 a.m. Thereafter to Eastfield Cemetery for 11:30 a.m. Family flowers only, donations if desired, to Mary's Meals. Hannay, John. Peacefully at Crieff Hospital on Friday, April 29th, 2022. John Hannay, aged 97 years old, of Comrie. Beloved husband of Jessie, sadly missed by his son John, his daughter Gillian, and their families. Funeral service, to which all are respectfully invited, at Perth Crematorium on Wednesday, May 11th at 3 p.m. In Memoriam. Morrow, Margaret. 5th anniversary. In loving memory of dearly beloved sister Margaret. Our dearly beloved Aunt Marge, who passed May 13th, 2017. Time will not dim the face we love, the voice we heard each day, the many things you did for us in your own loving way. For our lives we will miss you as the days come and go, but in our hearts we will keep you, because we loved you so. Insert by your loving sister, Helen, and all the family. Public notices. Traffic notices. Town and Country Planning, Development Management Procedure, Scotland, Regulations 2013, Regulation 20, brackets 2. These applications, with the associated plans and documents, can be inspected online using simple search at https://eplanning.northlanarkshire.gov.uk/online-applications, or at the local office below. Anyone wishing to make a comment can do so online or in writing within 14 days of this notice, or, in the case of a listed building, LBC, 21 days. Application number 22/00261/FUL. Site location: Buchanan Tower, Buchanan Business Park, Cumbernauld Road, Steps, G33 6HZ. Proposed development: change of use to film studio, Class 5. Planning and Place Manager: Fleming House, Trist Road, Cumbernauld, G67 1JW. northlanarkshire.gov.uk. Planning notices. East Bartonshire Council public notices. Civic Government (Scotland) Act 1982 application for renewal of second-hand dealer licence. The undernoted has applied for the renewal of a second-hand dealer licence in the terms of the above Act. Name and address of applicant: Ramsden Financial Limited, Birchwood House, Dalby Way, Colby Newham, Middlesbrough, TS8 0TW. Day-to-day manager: Karen Graham, 24 Scots Blair Avenue, Kirkintilloch, G66 4AG. Premises: Ramsden's, 47 Cowgate, Kirkintilloch, G66 1HW. Hours of business: Monday to Friday 9 till 5, Saturday 9 till 4. Goods: jewellery, electronics and mobile phones. Any objections or representations in terms of paragraph 3 brackets 1 of Schedule 1 of the Act should be logged with the undernoted no later than 28 days from the publication date of the newspaper in which this advertisement appears. Deputy Chief Executive, Education, People and Business, East Bartonshire Council, 12 Strathkelvin Place, Kirkintilloch, G66 1TJ. Civic Government, Scotland, Act 1982. Application for renewal of second-hand vehicle dealer licence. The undernoted has applied for the renewal of a second-hand vehicle dealer licence in terms of the above Act. Name and address of applicant: Arnold Clark, Automobiles Limited, 454 Hillington Road, Glasgow, G52 4FH. Day-to-day manager: David Munton, 8 Kirk Gardens, Strathaven, M406FS. Premises: Arnold Clark, 64 Kirkintilloch Road, Bishopbriggs, G64 2AH. Hours of business: Monday to Friday 8:30 AM till 8 PM. Saturday 8:30 AM till 6 PM and Sundays 11 AM till 6 PM. Any objections or representations in terms of paragraph 3 brackets 1 of Schedule 1 of the Act should be logged with the undernoted no later than 28 days from the publication date of the newspaper in which this advertisement appears. Deputy Chief Executive, Education, People and Business, East Bartonshire Council, 12 Strathkelvin Place, Kirkintilloch, G66 1TJ. Rob Roy clear of relegation. An article written by Ian McLean. Kirkintilloch Rob Roy boss Stuart Maxwell hailed his young squad after they guaranteed the club's place in the top flight, and said he always had faith they could do it. A 1-0 win at Auchinleck Talbot last Wednesday and a 2-1 victory at Rutherglen Glencairn on Saturday have ensured Rabs will be playing football in the West of Scotland Premier Division again next season. With an inexperienced squad and such a high proportion of teams going down, 7 out of 20, Maxwell's side were regarded as relegation favourites in many quarters. But Maxwell has seen his charges grow in confidence over the campaign, and says they thoroughly deserve their efforts to be rewarded. He said, quote, "It was a terrific week for us. We did really well, and I'm just delighted to get it over the line and prove a few people wrong after they had written us off. There were a few in the group that couldn't cut it and fell off the wayside, but the core stayed there and got better individually and as a group. For the turn of the year, the improvement went up a notch, and I think we've shown as good form as anybody in the league in the past 3 or 4 months with some of the results we've picked up. We've shown a bit of bottle recently, and I thought we handled the atmosphere and the pressure really well. That's credit to them. They could easily crumble and feel the pressure, but they've absorbed it, kicked on and looked really good. I've always believed they could do it, but you've got to keep your own counsel because you don't want egg on your face. We've just got to regroup now, and we've got a chance to finish in the top 6, which is incredible from where we were. With natural progression, you always lose players, and right now, one's definitely leaving. It's the usual. With decent performances, bigger budget clubs come sniffing. That's just the nature of the beast. But hopefully the majority will stay. I think they're only going to get better and hopefully continue to improve under our tutelage. We've always given youth a chance, and if anybody wants to leave, we will try to get the next batch of players in and kick on from there. That article by Ian McLean. Shanahan on course for games selection. Bishopbriggs teenager Katie Shanahan is in line for a place in the Scotland team for this summer's Commonwealth Games. The 17-year-old Bishopbriggs Academy pupil is among 33 swimmers, divers and para-swimmers nominated by the Scottish Swimming Birmingham 2022 selection group to be considered for selection for Team Scotland. The Games will take place in Birmingham from July 28th to August 8th. Shanahan's nomination continues her progress over the past 12 months. She made her big breakthrough last summer with 6 medals, including 2 gold, at the European Junior Championships in Rome. Later in the year, she helped her London rower team reach the final of the prestigious International Swimming League and reach a final in her first ever World Championship. This year, Shanahan, who swims for the City of Glasgow team, landed her first senior British title. Sports Digest. Football, Rosvale. Rosvale senior women's team bid to earn their first ever season with promotion fell at the final hurdle on Sunday. Vale finished the regular season as runners-up to Gartcairn in Scottish Women's Championship South, meaning a playoff win with Championship North runners-up East Fife for promotion to SWPL 2, along with Gartcairn and Championship North winners Montrose. East Fife took an early lead at the Indodrill Stadium in Alloa, but Rogers brought Vale level before the break. However, 2 second-half goals gave the Fifers a 3-1 win and a promotion to Scottish women's football's second tier. Glasgow C. Glasgow City's 14th year reign as Scottish Women's Championships is over. City drew 0-0 away to Rangers on Sunday, giving their rivals the points they needed to depose City as champions and secure their first SWPL1 title. It put them 8 points clear of the Petershill-based side, who have only 2 games left. Rangers have just 1 game to play against Celtic. City are the only side to take any points off Rangers this season, having drawn twice with Rangers winning all their matches. City themselves have only lost once, but crucially, that was a 3-1 defeat to Rangers in February. City boss Eileen Gleeson said afterwards, quote, "I couldn't have asked for any more from the players, and I'm really proud. We thought we were the better team on the day, but we just couldn't get that goal." It's the legacy Glasgow City have set as trailblazers that you need to keep raising your standards, and that is what we intend to do. City can still end the season with a trophy. They face Celtic in the cup final on May 29th. Tigers go roaring to top of table. Glasgow Tigers went top of the SGB Championship after a 49-41 win at Plymouth on Friday night, their 5th win in 6 matches. Tigers expected their toughest test of the season, so far from Plymouth, but despite pushing the home side closely in several races, the Gladiators never really threatened to take the lead. Guests Paul Stark and Kai Thompson, deputising for absent World under-21 riders Benjamin Basso and Tom Brennan, played their part for Glasgow, scoring 8+1 and 6 respectively. Captain Ulrich Ostergaard said, quote, Plymouth have a really strong team. They had a good guest in Bomber and Ben Barker. Michael Palmtoff and Hans Andersen were experienced riders. We knew we had to be on our toes to get the points, and I'm really proud of the team. We had 2 guests that can be a bit complicated sometimes, but they did a really good job, and everyone chipped in with points. Tigers were replaced by Leicester Lions, who beat Oxford on Saturday, but went back level with the Midlands side on Sunday, despite their match at Newcastle Diamonds being cut short by a dangerous track. The meeting was called off by the referee after Heat 10, with visitors 31-29 ahead. The circuit was said to be down to the concrete base in parts, with huge ruts appearing. The result stands giving Glasgow 3 points, and putting them level with Leicester at the top of the table. However, Tigers number 5, Brennan, is awaiting x-rays on a possible broken hand, which could keep him out for weeks.
Thank you for listening to this week's Kirkintilloch Herald podcast, brought to you by Q Review, print speaking to the blind. If you've any feedback, you're welcome to call us on 0141 772 3976. If you enjoyed this recording, feel free to subscribe to our channel.